In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, I am going to share my thoughts on the NBA draft news for April 23rd, 2025. Ace Bailey has officially declared for the NBA draft, so I'm going to share my thoughts on Ace Bailey, Drake Powell, Michael Ruzic, Malique Lewis, Boogie Fland, and more. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I am your host, Rafael Barlowe, and I am flying solo today. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I want to mention to you the Locked On newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every day. So whether your team is in the playoffs or your team is preparing for the 2025 NBA draft, or really even the 2026 NBA draft, check it out at lockedondaily.com. And if you are not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Board YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because we are your daily source for NBA draft content. And in today's episode, like I mentioned in the open, we're going to cover the latest NBA draft news. The news as far as guys declaring and staying is flooding in. You also have this weird mix of guys that are like done with college, don't have any college eligibility, that even played in the Portsmouth Invitational, that have entered the transfer portal. I mean, we are in this like very, very uniquely weird situation in the NBA draft. Some guys are deciding to return to school who have significant NBA draft buzz. Some guys they're like in the portal and declaring for the draft at the same time. We're in some pretty unique times. But the topic of the day, the lead story of the day as far as the NBA draft is Ace Bailey has made it official. Ace Bailey has declared for the NBA draft. In my opinion, Ace Bailey is the number 3 prospect on my big board, the number 3 prospect in this draft. Bailey is coming off a good freshman year, at least individually, but a good freshman year at Rutgers. He averaged 17.6 points, 7 rebounds per game, shot 46% from the floor, 34.6% from three. Also averaged 1.3 assists, 1.3 blocks, 1 steal per game. And overall, I thought individually he did what he needed to do to maintain his draft stock. He came in as a projected top 3 pick, and I think he's going to end up a top 3 pick. Now, overall, Rutgers as a team, that was one of the more disappointing seasons as far as like expectations in recent memory. Not saying that I expected them to make a deep run to the Final Four. I thought they were a Friends NCAA tournament team, but they were like 15 and 17. The main appeal for Ace Bailey is he is 6'10". He is a very, very gifted shot maker, somewhat polarizing. There are people that really like him and like his upside and his potential as a 6'10" bucket getter, but he has some people that really dislike his shot selection, his game, and his overall style of play. I'll just share my thoughts about Ace Bailey. I love the positional size at 6'10". He is the type of wing that teams covered in the modern NBA. Should be able to play some 3 and 4. He's weird in the fact that he can handle, but he can't handle. He can handle at 6'10". He's a good ball handler, but he needs to become a much better ball handler when it comes to getting to his spots. But he's a good athlete. He is a good transition finisher when he wants to be. I think he settles for too many transition threes. But his ability to stop, pop, fire, and rise over the top of smaller defenders is what makes him such an alluring prospect. I love his upside as a shot maker, scorer. He can shoot on the move. He's a good shooter when his feet are set. And he is capable of some absolutely brilliant scoring performances. For example, he had a game against Penn State where he was 13 of 15 from the floor with 30 points. 13 of 15 from the floor, not the foul line, 13 of 15 from the floor. Then he had another game where he had 37 points against Northwestern, where he was 13 of 20 from the floor. But in between those games, he was 4 for 17 against Michigan State. So that is kind of like the Ace Bailey experience in a nutshell. But I think he has very good value as a switchy defender. Not there yet, but he has the physical tools to be a squishy defender. He's a pretty good weak side rim protector. And he's just very polarizing. There are people that say he is going to be a bust. There are people that really don't like him. Then there are people that feel like if he puts it all together, he may have the highest ceiling in this class. But no matter which side of the fence you are on, whether you like him or hate him, I think you can pretty much assure that Ace Bailey is going to be a top 5 pick. I have him going number 3. And like I said, he made it official that he is declaring for the NBA draft, which should not be a surprise to anyone else. What is somewhat of a surprise for some people is that North Carolina freshman Drake Powell has made it official that he is entering the 2025 NBA draft. Drake was a guy that I was high on. I thought Drake Powell was a top 10 pick coming into the season. I was really high on his upside as a shot maker. I was high on his ability to defend multiple positions, his athleticism, and he had what I would consider a disappointing freshman season. And I don't even think it's really his fault. I just don't think that he was really given the opportunity to maximize his talent. He averaged 7.4 points per game, 3.4 rebounds. If you look at the efficiency, he shot 48% from the floor, 38% from three, but 64.8% from the foul line. Coming into the season, why I was so high on Drake Powell, and it really wasn't even about his defense. It was about his offense. I thought that he was one of the more underrated prospects as far as like what he does on the offensive end. And he had a really strong performance at a Nike Skills Academy, and he was playing really good defense. And then you started hearing about him as a defender. That's all you heard about as a defender. But I feel like his offense was really underrated. I think he is a gifted isolation scorer. I have him listed as one of the more exciting shot makers in the 2025 NBA draft. And this is like a pre-college scouting report. But I had him as one of the more exciting shot makers in the 25 class. I felt like he was able to get buckets on the high school level using a mix of athleticism, craftiness, and creativity. I thought he had a shifty handle, showed the ability to get to his spots on the floor by switching speeds and able to like get defenders leaning with this crossover. I thought he was able to get to his spots efficiently. And unfortunately, we did not get to see a lot of that from Drake Powell at North Carolina. If you would have asked me 24 hours ago, I would have thought that he's the type of player that would probably enter the draft, test the waters, but put his name in the transfer portal. And it sounds like he is all in on the 2025 NBA draft. The question is he a first rounder? I think if I ask the general consensus, they'll say, yes, he is a first rounder, but I'm not 100% for sure. Like I've touched on over the last few episodes where I've done NBA draft news, Drake Powell really has to weigh, or I guess he's already made his decision, but he is the type of prospect that had to weigh, do I go to the NBA and be a first round pick where I really don't know for certain the situation, or do I return to school? And I think he would command a hefty NIL bag, return to school, pick your situation where you can play 30 minutes per game. And it looks like he chose to go to the NBA. I am going to trust my pre-college instincts and my gut feeling about Drake Powell. Now, is he a top 10 pick? Will he go in the top 10? I doubt it, even though I had him as a top 10 pick entering his freshman year. But I am going to say that Drake Powell is a first-round pick. And maybe, just maybe, depending on how well he shoots in workouts and what he shows, maybe he can creep up into the range where I had him coming into the season. So let me know your thoughts on Drake Powell. I like to be interactive. So let me know your thoughts. You can hit me up on Twitter, BARLOWE500. Let me know. Or if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments. Is Drake Powell a first rounder? I think so. But tell me why you think he's a first rounder. All right, up next, when we return, we're going to talk about Michael Ruzic, Malique Lewis, two prospects from the international ranks that have declared for the NBA draft. We got to talk about Boogie Fland, who I thought was all in on the NBA draft, but he put his name in the transfer portal. We're going to touch on that when we return. There is nothing like the atmosphere of the NBA playoff game. I live in Dallas. I went to all of the Mavericks playoffs games last year, and unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs this year. But I can tell you, every bucket, every defensive play, every moment feels huge in the playoffs. It's the electricity in the arena. And with game time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high, except in Memphis. But prices on the app actually go down as the tip gets closer, and they have last-minute deals that can save you up to 60%. And what I love about the app is that they have all-in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create an account. Use the redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, second segment. Let's talk about Michael Ruzic. Michael Ruzic declared for the 2025 NBA draft. He is from Croatia, and he played this season in Spain for Juventud, team that, at least when I think of Juventud, I think of Ricky Rubio, who played there before. He played for Barcelona before going to the NBA. Ruzic is one of the younger players in this draft class. He'll still be 18 on draft night. Had a rough season, missed some time with the hand injury, did not get a lot of playing time and not a lot of opportunity to showcase why he is such an intriguing prospect. I mean, he's made a name for himself playing on the international ranks, but he had a really big tournament in Treviso last summer that really caught the attention of NBA scouts. What the appeal is for Ruzic is he's like your modern day big. He's 6'11". He's the inside-outside threat. He's agile. He's coordinated, moves extremely well. He's an efficient finisher around the rim. What I love about him is that he has this understanding of finding gaps in the defense. He's able to find holes in the defense to where he's able to get his shot off, not necessarily creating, but whether it's a timely cut, a pick and pop. He just has a high IQ and a very good understanding of how to score. Unfortunately, he just did not get a lot of opportunity this year, even before he had the hand injury that sidelined him. He just was not very productive in the minutes that he played. He averaged about 13 minutes per game, but he averaged just 3.4 points per game. And he also struggled with his outside shooting. Some of it is related to the injury. Some of it wasn't. But when you just look at the raw numbers, 3.4 points per game, like I said, 49% from the floor, but 25% from three and 31% from the foul line. I do think that his stock has taken somewhat of a hit. At one point, I thought, you know what, he could be a top 30 prospect, top 35. And it's still a possibility. He's just going to have to show teams what he's capable of. But I don't know if it's going to be a possibility or how many teams that he will be able to work out for due to the length of the season in Spain. So he's somewhat of a wild card. And to be totally honest with you, I think it makes the most sense for him to go to college. He can make some pretty good money if he goes to college. However, I do think he's the type of player that, with the limited sample size and how well he played in Treviso last year, that he may have enough buzz to get drafted anyway. So going to college, he could risk, I think of a Daimar. I think of some of the other prospects that had some NBA draft buzz, that their buzz has somewhat flatlined by playing in college. Either way, it is a risk, but I do think that he is the type of player that will be drafted and possibly stashed based off of his age. Like I said, one of the younger players in this class. And he just had a really, really strong performance last summer in front of a bunch of NBA scouts. And I think that the momentum has stalled some, but I think there was enough there that he can get drafted. But the main appeal for him is, again, the positional size, that 6'10", 6'11". In theory, he is an inside-outside threat that can pick and pop, roll to the rim, and he's a very good passer. He is a very good connective passer. He makes quick touch passes, has a high IQ. The concerns are he's young. He needs to bulk up. His frame is a little bit thin. He's a good athlete, but he's not really vertically explosive. He is a below the rim finisher, but he's a crafty finisher. Interesting mix, but Michael Ruzic is a player that I think will be a top 60 pick. All right, the next player that I want to talk about is a guy that I was really high on last year. I still am pretty high on him. I think that he offers like positional versatility and outside shooting, and that is Malique Lewis. Malique Lewis played for the Mexico City Capitanes last year, but then this past season he played for Southeast Melbourne in the NBL. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. Began his career playing professionally in Spain. I thought he was like a really, really under the radar sleeper last year. I actually would have taken him in the 2024 NBA draft. I would have used a top 50 pick on Malique Lewis. Went to the NBL this year, had an up and down year. The numbers don't really pop out. 6.8 points, 4.1 rebounds. He shot 42% from the floor and 34% from three. But what I like about Malique Lewis is the positional size. And I think that he is the type of wing that there's a role for in the NBA. He can switch between the three and the floor. He's a good athlete. He's a good cutter. And if he is the type of guy that can knock down open shots, defend multiple positions, finish in transition, score as a cutter, and maybe even attack closeouts, I think that there is definitely a role for Malique Lewis in the NBA. Top 60 pick for me. And again, he was the guy that I would have taken last year. So I'm pretty high on Malique Lewis. All right, let's talk about Boogie Fland. Boogie Fland last week announced that he is entering the 2025 NBA draft. And I talked about Boogie as a player that I just didn't know what his range was. There's some people that believe that he's a first round pick, and there's some believe that he's not a first round pick. And in my opinion, I just thought it's too risky. If you're not a lock to go in the first round, it is too risky, at least financially, to be all in on the NBA draft. I mentioned it in the episode either early this week or late last week. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, it was brought up, it came out that he is entering the transfer portal. And so to me, when I see this, I see him as entering the transfer portal as a way of keeping his options open. So if he does not like the feedback that he's going to get from NBA teams, and to me, not liking the feedback could mean you're not a top 15 pick, because you can probably make more money. And I know I keep stressing this. You can possibly make more money in college basketball than you can as a non-lottery pick. That is absolutely a crazy phenomenon that's going on right now. So I do think that it is smart for him to keep his options open. Now, with Arkansas's team, you have DJ Wagner coming back. You have Darius Acuff. You have Malik Thomas. You have Billy Richmond. And then you have Carter Knox, who has declared for the draft but is testing the waters. You have to wonder, where does Boogie fit in? Or if Boogie fits in, then somebody's the odd man out. So to me, it makes a lot of sense for him to enter the portal, keep his options open. And if he does not like the feedback from the NBA teams, he should have some pretty big money offers from various colleges. I mean, I just saw that Kentucky has like a $20 million NIL budget. That's bigger than a lot of EuroLeague teams. That's how wild college basketball is right now. And also for Boogie, I also feel like he's in a situation to where declaring for the draft is also leverage to get more money in NIL. Strange times we are living in. All right, up next, I'm going to talk about Isaiah Evans. Isaiah Evans decided to return to school, so I'm going to share my thoughts on Isaiah Evans. We're going to talk about Ian Jackson. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. All you have to do is grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. You are ready to play, so you can dive in on hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 2025 to Call of Duty as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It is gaming made simple, and it is all on your Fire TV. And with 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed devices or services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. So head over to amazon.com/Fire TV locked on to get started. Your Xbox Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller are required. It is available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. All right, last segment. Let's talk about Isaiah Evans. Isaiah Evans was a freshman at Duke. He has decided to return to Durham. I know Duke fans are absolutely thrilled to have Isaiah Evans back. Isaiah was a player that I thought that he had a tough decision to make. Should he stay or should he go? Even though the numbers on paper don't necessarily like really grab your attention, I thought he had some really good moments this year. He had some hot shooting performances that put him on the radar to be a potential top 30 pick. And he averaged 6.8 points. And that's about it. Just one rebound, averaged less than assists per game, but he shot 41.6% from three. And what makes Isaiah Evans such an appealing NBA prospect is the outside shooting. When he's hot, he is capable of scoring in flurries. He had some really big performances this year, and when he was given the opportunity, in my personal opinion, I felt like he just was not able to capitalize on the opportunity that he had for him in front of him when Cooper Flag went down with the injury in the ACC tournament. Now, if you want to hear my honest opinion, I think that Isaiah Evans is returning to school because he was not able to capitalize on the opportunity that he had in front of him in the ACC tournament when Cooper Flag went down. Now, the game Cooper Flag went down was against Georgia Tech, and he did have a strong game. He had a strong game. In 17 minutes, he scored 14 points. And with Cooper Flag out, he had a game against North Carolina, a big rivalry game, played 26 minutes, only took 3 shots, which is really weird because when Isaiah Evans came in the game, he was normally getting up, a decent amount of shots in a limited amount of time. But in that North Carolina game, 26 minutes, only took 3 shots, only had 2 points. And then in the game against Louisville, he only had 6 points in 18 minutes. Didn't score double figures the rest of the season. 0 points against Houston. Only played 2 minutes. That's not his fault. Only played 5 minutes against Alabama, 4 minutes against Arizona. But in the games after Cooper went down with an injury, and even in the first round of the NCAA tournament against Mount St. Mary's, he was 2 for 9 in 20 minutes and finished with just 4 points. I feel like if he would have been able to capitalize on Flag being out, if he would have had some stronger performances, I think he would have played more minutes down the stretch. And ultimately, I think that would have been enough to solidify himself as a first-round pick, or at least a comfortable draft range. But he ultimately decided to return to Duke. Could end up being the best decision for him. He has an opportunity to be a lottery pick next year. Duke is obviously Duke, so they're going to bring in a loaded freshman class, but he does have an opportunity to improve his draft stock while making some money. So I believe that Isaiah Evans made the right decision to return to Duke. All right, let's talk about Ian Jackson. Ian Jackson is a player that I was high on. I just thought that Ian Jackson had the epitome of a roller coaster season. Got off to, I don't know if it was a slow start. North Carolina wasn't using him right. And he showed some flashes. Then he went on this stretch where he was playing like his best basketball. He was just putting together 20-point performances back to back to back. He looked like he was destined to be a first-round pick. And then something happened. I don't know what it was, but he absolutely just hit a wall and was not the same player. Overall, he still finished with a good freshman year, 11.9 points per game, 2.7 rebounds, shot 45% from the floor, 39% from three. The big knock on Ian Jackson is just he doesn't pass. Like, he just doesn't pass. He didn't even average 1 assist per game, and he played about 24 minutes per game. All right, 23.8 minutes per game if you want to round up. But 0.9 assists is pretty alarming. Just to give you an example of the Ian Jackson roller coaster ride, he averaged 9 points a game in November, but he shot 47% from three. He averaged 17 points per game in December, 16.7 points per game in January. And in December, I mean, the efficiency was good. 17.3 points, 52% from the floor, 38% from three. And then in February, his minutes went from 33 minutes per game in January to 22 minutes per game in February. He only averaged 9 points per game. And then he was down to 16 minutes per game in March. Only 16 minutes per game, and he averaged 7 points per game. And his field goal percentage was down to 36.5%. Once I saw the minutes declining, I knew he was out of there. I knew that there was absolutely no chance he was returning to North Carolina. Well, I should say I knew. I felt like it. I didn't know for certain. I'm just talking here. But I thought that he's not coming back to North Carolina. He's either going to the draft or he's going to the transfer portal. And it has been announced that Ian Jackson will be going to St. John's. And, you know, you heard Rick Pitino make the comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, that I'm not really looking for freshmen. I got to replace these upperclassmen. You knew that he was going to hit the portal hard, and Ian Jackson was a big get for Rick Pitino in St. John's. Ian is from New York, so he's back close to home. And then also they brought in Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell was a player that I feel like it was like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Was the projected top 10 pick. A lot of people really, really like Dylan Mitchell due to his, I mean, just outlier athleticism. And he is leaving Cincinnati, and he is going to St. John's. He started his career at Texas, again, was a McDonald's All-America, projected top 10 pick. I wasn't high on him because I'm like, this dude is like 6'7" with the skill set of DeAndre Jordan, but he's a phenomenal athlete, excellent rebounder, motor, has gradually gotten better, but not enough to even be drafted. But maybe Rick Pitino can resurrect his draft stock. So you got Ian Jackson and Dylan Mitchell. We plan for St. John's next year. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. In the next episode, it will be me and Leaf Tulane, and Leaf is going to share his thoughts on the prospects of the 2025 NBA draft class that he believes have the highest ceiling. But he's also going to share his thoughts on the players that he believes are safe and have the highest floor. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss that. Once again, it's Rafael Barlowe. Check out the Locked On newsletter at lockedondaily.com, and I am out of here.